Hubris by Akinkunmi. It is impossible to explore any facet of modern Nigeria history or society without the military, and in particular the army, looming significantly. While several authors have documented the history of Nigeria, rarely, if ever, has the impact of the politics of Nigeria on the army and vice versa formed the exclusive subject of study. This book is an endeavor to fill that gap. It is insightful, educative, and yet in some ways disturbing. From the first coup in January 1966 to the bloody civil war that started in 1967 to the dictatorial rulership of army generals in the 80s and 90s, this book explores the epic military event that shaped the Nigerian nation.
The idea was to trace the evolution of Nigeria as a country, trace the evolution of the army, and do so in parallel, and then look at the interaction between the politics of the country and the Nigerian army, particularly the effects on both sides of the army's involvement in politics. And it's that process that led to the conclusion that you have just referred to. But beyond that, the fundamental reason for writing this book is that it's a history book. And I am a firm believer in the idea that if you do not know where you're coming from, it is almost impossible to work out where you're going.
Too Good to Die by Aisha Sori and Chidi Odinkalu. This book delves head-on into controversy. It puts a magnifying glass on Olusegun Obasanjo, Nigeria's former two-time president, and his alleged third-term agenda. It's a bold, unsparing, and blunt approach to analyzing one of Africa's most notable, revered, and complicated leaders. Did Obasanjo actually spearhead a third-term agenda? Too Good to Die is very much about providing an answer to that question. Depending on which side of the political divide you're in, the book will either get you excited or seething. Whatever the case, it is one that catches attention as far as exploring contemporary Nigerian political leadership is concerned. Africa Rise and Shine by Jim Ovia. This is the story of one of Africa's most successful bank entrepreneurs. Jim Ovia, founder and chairman of Zenith Bank, proves in this book that the unthinkable can be achieved by sharing the story of his meteoric rise from humble beginning to building a formidable banking institution. The History of Football in Nigeria by Wiba Boa. This book reveals the story of how football was introduced to Nigerians by colonial officers and missionaries, not just as a sport, but as a rallying force for unification and collective development. It's a stunning work that tells the Nigerian story in more ways than your average history book. The earliest football stars, clubs, administrators, promoters, and government officials who laid the foundation for the relationship Nigerians now share with football are unveiled. In this book, Wiba Boa, a historian who was born and raised in Nigeria, through this important book has helped to preserve a crucial part of the Nigerian story, the story of its greatest game.
Well, you know, I may not look like it, but I was actually born and raised in Nigeria, so I'm Nigerian by birth and upbringing. I first grew up in Taraba and then Plateau later. And just growing up here, I think anyone who's lived here for any amount of time recognizes how amazing Nigerian football is, but also just how popular it is. And so I had that in the back of my mind, you know, when I went to graduate school. And while I was in graduate school doing my doctoral work on African history, I was basically, you know, I needed to think of what my doctoral topic was going to be. So the first 2 years of grad school, while I was doing coursework, I would ask every Nigerian I met anywhere in the world, whether Nigeria or abroad, the question of what is something that is national, positive, unifying, and historical for Nigeria. And the only answer I got was football, regardless of gender, ethnicity, religion, age, socioeconomic class. It was always the same single answer: football.
Dust to Dew by Betty Rubble. Betty Rappel's latest book chronicles our journey through life, battles, and a fight against insecurities, mental health, and depression. Dust is chaos. Dust blinds. Dew, on the other hand, speaks of a fresh start of hope renewed. This, in many ways, sums up Rappel's moving book. The writer, columnist, editor-in-chief of lifestyle magazine Genevieve, and founder of Genevieve Pink Bowl Foundation, which promotes breast cancer awareness, packs enough experiences in this book to teach, inspire, and motivate. This is a book you want to pick up when you're ready to give life a push. Fighting Corruption is Dangerous by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Drawing on her experience as Nigeria's finance minister and that of her team, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, through this book, describes dangers, pitfalls, and successes in fighting corruption. She provides practical lessons learned and tells how anti-corruption advocates need to equip themselves. Okonjo-Iweala details the numerous ways in which corruption can divert resources away from development, rewarding the unscrupulous and depriving poor people of services. Okonjo-Iweala discovered just how dangerous fighting corruption could be when her 83-year-old mother was kidnapped in 2012 by forces who objected to some of the government's efforts at reforms led by Okonjo-Iweala. In particular, a crackdown on fraudulent claims for oil subsidy payments. This book is also partly a bid to set the record straight in the wake of allegations that trailed her out of office when Mr. Jonathan lost elections in 2015 and the government changed hands. To My Younger Self by Ronke Onodeko. This is simply an inspiring book full of life lessons. It's a collection of stories and letters from 24 outstanding people in Nigeria who narrate lessons learned in their careers, family, and business journeys. In these letters, they share the things they wished they had known, things they wished someone had told them, things they had learned themselves, mistakes they had made, and how they overcame challenges. My Transition by Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. In 2015, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan did what many considered to be the unthinkable. He called the opposition candidate to concede an election whose final result had not been announced. Jonathan chose the path of honor and the rule of law. This is something both his supporters and critics agree on. In this book, he tells that particular story and others that occurred during his 5-year tenure. It is a compelling narrative, but one, as it is often the case in politics, that will be received or rejected depending largely on where you sit and the political divide. She Called Me Woman by Azina Mohammed. This stirring and intimate collection brings together 30 captivating narratives to paint a vivid portrait of what it means to be a queer Nigerian woman, covering an array of experiences, the joy and excitement of first love, the agony of lost love and betrayal, the sometimes fraught relationship between sexuality and spirituality, addiction and suicide, childhood games and laughter. She Called Me Woman sheds light on how Nigerian queer women, despite their differences, attempt to build a life together in a climate of fear. Our Fatherless People by Dele Ogun. This is the secret story of all Nigerians missed the road to the promised land. It tells the story of Nigeria from its early conceptualization by British colonialists in the aftermath of the abolition of the slave trade up to the present day. It is compelling, controversial, punchy, and thought-provoking. It raises questions about the motivations behind the abolition of slave trade and the initialization of colonialism. It accuses colonial masters of setting up colonies, including Nigeria, to fail. It challenges Nigerians to think about the foundation of their country and the direction it ought to be going in terms of nationhood. It is on one hand a book about history and on the other hand a manual for development.
Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's show. As always, please join us on any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. Let's know what you think about our top Nigerian books for 2018. Once again, on behalf of our team, I wish you a wonderful 2019. I'm Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.